Shalom and namaste everyone. I have learned a lot about the Indian Army, however, I don't think I learned enough about the history of the Indian Army. And this is why I want to say thank you to a person who recommended this video for me. We will learn a little bit about the history of the Indian Army. Let's go.
Over 1.4 billion people call the Republic of India home. The world's most populous country is a melting pot of languages, religions, and cultures. Its landscapes stretch from arid...
Just a quick question. Sorry. If you're using the map of India and you're talking about the Indian Army, why not use the map that the Indian Army believe this is the right map? Why use a Western, like, other world map instead of, like, the map that the Indian Army are using? Sorry, it's just funny to me. But, like, yeah, let's keep going.
Desert to steaming jungle, from soaring temples to red brick forts. This unprecedented variety of people and places makes India the powerhouse it is today. But as history shows, people and places are hardly enduring. They need to be fought for. Modern India is a nation forged in conflict. After over a century of British rule, the Indian subcontinent was controversially partitioned, leading to the Indo-Pakistani War of 1947 to 1948. The early Indian military, still largely led by British officers, seized the majority of the disputed region of Kashmir in the mountainous north, and would consolidate its control over other areas in the subsequent years, though not without leaving India with a flurry of border disputes that reverberate into the present.
Just a quick reminder, this is exactly what they also did for us. This is what the British also did for us. They left the area of modern-day Israel, ancient-day Kingdom of Israel and Kingdom of Judea, and just left a mess behind. This is pretty cool. It's also Israel and India. It's not that cool, but you know, it's our history, joint history, that they did everything they can to make sure everyone who's being left behind will, like, regret the fact that they're not in charge. This is a really stupid thing they did, but they did it systematically to every place they conquered.
Despite its precarious security situation, the Indian military was initially an underfunded force that relied on a strategy of defense in depth. Unfortunately, this doctrine restricted the ability of the armed forces to respond to limited incursions, such as the case in India's 1962 conflict with China. Renewed conflict with Pakistan provided India an opportunity to refine its military doctrine, leading to a gradual mechanization of the army and a focus on overwhelming offensives. The modern geopolitical and strategic situation of India exists in the shadow of its early conflicts. Namely, the country possesses numerous contested borders with neighboring China and Pakistan. Indian military's strategic doctrine closely reflects its geopolitical situation. Overwhelmingly geared toward countering the threats posed by Pakistan and China, the Indian military is heavily concentrated in the country's north and west. While the
To be fair, I know people always say, oh, why you pause all the time, because this is my channel and I'll do what I want, but I understand, like, what they're doing right now, the drawing are kind of, like, nice. What they did right now with the whole Bharat and Pakistan border, the dance, the routine they're doing is very impressive and very strange at the same time. Like, I love the fact that they have this big rivalry, however they managed to do something like this.
Indian military has historically been organized to deliver devastating offensives deep into the territory of its rivals. This blunt strategy has proved too rigid to respond to the asymmetric warfare of the 21st century. As a response to this changing landscape, India has adopted what it calls a cold start doctrine. Under this new strategy, the Indian military has been reorganized into smaller, more flexible battle groups that aim to mobilize quickly and deliver swift conventional strikes against Pakistan in particular. The Indian armed forces are organized into three primary service branches: the Army, Air Force, and Navy. Exemplifying the country's focus on land-based territorial defense, the Indian Army is by far the largest branch of the armed forces, with over 1.2 million active personnel, more than 1 million greater than the Air Force and Navy combined, and the largest land force in the world.
Okay, but we need to remember the fact that this is the largest, in the world, blah blah. The civilians that those people are protecting are way more. Like, if I don't like the whole comparing numbers, because you comparing numbers like, okay, this person has 3 things and that person only have 1, but they're talking, you need to talk about a soldier per civilian, and in that case it's not a lot. Like, the Indian Army, as much as it have a lot of people, and I have a huge respect to every person who volunteered to the Indian Army because it's not mandatory for you guys, but compared to a soldier versus a civilian, there's not a lot of soldiers to protect the entire nation of Bharat and the entire civilians of it. So I don't like the whole it's a really big army because this is this amount of people. It's not about that. You don't get to compare it with numbers. You get to compare it, with the protection against civilians.
Doctrinally, the Indian Army has always been fixated on the possibility of a two-front war against China and Pakistan. The rough terrain of the Chinese-Indian border and the technological superiority of the Chinese military make a ground conflict with India's northern neighbor exceptionally unappealing. For this reason, the Army's 2018 land warfare doctrine prioritizes de-escalation and deterrence with China, while advocating for a more provocative approach to Pakistan.
It's also based on what is China, what their culture and values are, and what Pakistan culture and values are. This is why they're talking about history, but you cannot talk about army and history if you're not also talking about the culture and the religion of the people. Although China is also a big threat to the world, Pakistan is part of a much bigger story. China is a big country, but there's not a lot of people who has the Chinese ideology. Pakistan is a small country compared to China. However, the great nation of Islam is much bigger, and Pakistan ideology to make sure the entire area will be only Muslims and no kafir people, a lot of other people also share this ideology. So I can understand why India decided to act in different ways, which, by the way, this is why I respect you guys. It's so smart to not immediately say, I will attack everyone, I will do this, I will do that. No, you're searching, you're looking for different places, you're learning about the different people, and then you see how you can protect your own people in front of those different threats. Although they want the same thing, to make sure your country will be part of their country and you're all gonna submit to them, they're doing, your country is doing an amazing thing, your army is doing an amazing thing by learning the enemy and making sure to fight the enemy the right way that is going to be the more effective way to that specific enemy. So good job on that field.
To enable rapid advances against its enemies, the Indian Army has steadily focused on mechanizing its massive force, a priority reflected in its organization. Indian Army units are divided into 2 types of formations: Strike Corps and Holding Corps. Strike Corps prioritize mechanized warfare and feature a greater portion of India's tank force of over 3,700 vehicles. Holding Corps, on the other hand, are more static contingents, well suited to defense. In the event of a war, these Holding Corps would be expected to pin down opposing forces, while the more maneuverable Strike Corps roll deep into enemy territory. In recent years, the equipment of the Indian Army has undergone significant modernization and increased reliance on domestic manufacturing. But
Oh, I thought... Isn't the AK... Well, I know the AK used to be a Russian thing. I understand how India and Russia are working together, so I guess this is more developed, way more. It started in Russia, but then they developed it a little bit more in India. from what I remember, the AK is a little bit more like heavier than the M4, for example. M4 is a USA rifle, but I know you guys are also using a lot of Israeli weapons, which is pretty cool. I don't know if it's gonna show in here, but just the AK, I was just like, wait, isn't it Russia? But it's cool. Good to know you guys are also working with other places and creating your own weapon and developing your own weapon to protect your own people.
Still remains behind many other world powers in these respects. Many armored vehicles used by the Indian Army, like the T-72, T-90, or BMP-2, are Russian or Soviet in origin, though a large portion of these are manufactured locally in India. Recently, the Indian Army has begun incorporating a greater variety of Indian equipment, such as the Arjun tank, into their arsenal. This is a trend
Okay,
that the
interesting.
government is moving to encourage.
Like I said, maybe I'm selfish, so I expect to see a little bit more like Israeli technology also in there, because I do know we work together on that field, on the training together in army field, military weapon and stuff like this. But this is a history lesson. Thank you for introducing me to this. Again, the map is not mapping, but yeah, it was interesting to see how it looks. This was a very interesting history lesson, although I think they talked very like they just gave a really brief history with not a lot of information too much about it, but that was, you know, it's a brief one. It makes sense. This is not the full video. If you want to see the full video, link in the description, because at the end of the day, they created this, not me. I'm only watching and learning and asking you guys to educate me a little bit more. So if you want to see the original video, by the way, is so much longer, but I've been told it's still like brief history. Please go watch the original video in the original channel. Again, link in the description. Write down if you served in the army, if you have people that you know from your family, from your life that serve in the army. I would love to know, what weapon do you guys use? Do you use any Israeli weapon? Because I do know we're working together on that field. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye everyone. להתראות.